Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Um, I mean, I've been rewatching the old videos, and I keep seeing how many times that I say and I'm trying to get away from that and maybe just take pauses instead of saying it all the time. Um, there it is again. It's very built into how I talk. But I am back for video diary number 3. Um, God, Jesus Christ. This is basically it's a little bit different for me. I've never attempted something like this before. Um, but I was pretty inspired to do something kind of big that I've never attempted before. So that's kind of why it's going a bunch of different places that I've never really attempted. And when I'm saying attempted, I'm meaning um, one, digital art. I've done digital art a little bit before, but not really. It's mostly been pencil and paper back in high school. I think right out of high school, when I first had a job, I got a drawing tablet off Amazon during Black Friday, and I used that to get into digital art for a couple of months. But then that's around the time that I basically started getting out of art since I moved away from home and I had an internet connection finally. Um, so I was able to do things other than just be by myself in the darkness of the void. So I was able to play games with friends and go on to online forums and interact with people and things. So I moved away from a lot of the stuff that I used to enjoy as a kid, like programming and listening to music and drawing and things like that, just creative aspects. I really enjoyed and spent a lot of time with creative aspects as a kid that around 2018 when I moved out on my own just kind of disappeared and I didn't really notice them. And that's probably where a lot of these emotions over the last couple years have been coming from. It's that that yearning for the creative aspects that I used to have that I don't anymore and wanting to get back into it and just not fully understanding that's what it was. But basically, it was around, I think, Monday. I was just scrolling through YouTube and I saw that Maury was streaming. And I saw this stream, um, I think it was Monday night. And I saw the title, Paint Me Like a French Girl. It's kind of a funny play on the fact that Expedition 33 is like a French inspired based thing. I think the ex Ubisoft devs who work on it are French based, like they're the old Montreal team. I don't know for certain, so don't quote me on that. Um, it may just be the style that they wanted for the game. But I saw the title, and after just getting into art again and drawing Demon Dice and drawing Naruto and looking for other aspects to get into, seeing that title, I was like, this almost feels like a call to action. Like, I should draw her, which is very funny that it was at that same timing. But yeah, I saw the title and I went, oh, I can do that. But I wanted to go a bit above and beyond instead of just drawing again. So I had an idea that I would do like a montage type thing where I make a bunch of different drawings and then montage them all together into a tiny video and be like, aha, meme, I did the thing that you asked, even though she's really not asking for that. Um, and it kind of went a little bit further because I was like, well, if it's going to be a meme in that aspect, then maybe I should add a little bit of comedy aspects to it or try to play it with some music or something so that it has more of like an emotional appeal to people or something like just making it seem more interesting in the moment. So I got the idea to do like a full on intro where I was going to basically have like an old Windows Vista startup and you open the Internet Explorer and it pops up to YouTube and then pulls up the channel, sees the title, zooms in on it a little bit, and then cue the music, go into the montage of seeing all the different art pieces. And then when I got to that point, I was like, well, showing all the different art pieces is cool, but what would be even more cool? Animation, and getting into animating her in a bunch of different aspects. And I've never even attempted animation before. I don't know the first thing about it, so I don't know what in my mind broke to think that I should attempt that. But that's what I thought, and that's what I was planning on doing. I even spent a couple hours making a full on like script for what I wanted to do in the video. And it was very, how do you say it? Ambitious. Very much out of the league of someone who's never even touched animation, of somebody who has barely even used a digital tablet before. But I was really inspired and I really wanted to do it. So I didn't care. I was just going to try, which is kind of what this channel is about. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. So I started getting a bunch of these files together of all these different things that I would need to edit out the video. And I edited out the base front of the video. I may put that in here. I don't know, because if I fully plan on finishing it, then I don't want to spoil it first. As well as I think it's a little bit cringy. But this channel is about getting things out there, not about caring what people see about it. So I really shouldn't care if I find it cringy or not. That's what being creative is. It's being cringy until it's something. So yeah, I probably will end up putting it here.
Yo, you want to see something cool? No? Well, I'm gonna do it anyway.
But that's basically the intro that I was going for, was that Windows Vista startup, and then it goes into finding the channel and then zooms in on it and cues the music. And the music that I was thinking of was Hula Gang by, I forget their exact name. It's like Jerry something and Bale or something like that. I'll put like a screenshot of the song on Spotify up so that you can see it. And I was going to animate to that video, and that's what the script was referring to, with the seconds and the it had the lyrics of each section where it was going to change on the left. And I was, once I got the intro edited out and I got the music added in there, and then I got like a slight outro. It really is just text saying, hey, thanks for watching, and then a CRT monitor turning off, just to add to the aesthetic of the beginning of the video. So once all of that was finished, I tried getting into the actual animation portion, the part that I had never worked on before, because editing videos, I'm not great at it. I have very little experience in it, but I've edited videos a tiny bit for my main channel, so it wasn't daunting to me to try and do it. It just wasn't good. But animation, I've never even attempted before. I don't even know what program you should use. So I have an art friend through another Discord that I asked him if he had any recommendations, and he basically told me that he had never worked with animation before. And so he doesn't really have that good of an idea, so I ended up Googling it, and I found Adobe Animate was the first one that had a tutorial for it. So I tried using that one, and basically I'm using it all wrong, but when you go back and edit it, it allows it to work, so it doesn't really matter that it's all wrong. Let me get it open here. So this is the animation file within Adobe Animate. I essentially started off with, I was going to do the introduction where it's the exaggerated step into the scene moment, and I was looking around trying to find some example of an exaggerated cartoony step because I couldn't remember any off the top of my head. And I couldn't find any cartoony exaggerated steps, but I did find an old, maybe not old. I don't watch it, so I don't know exactly how old it is. I think it said it was like episode 1050 or something like that, which I think is like 6 months ago, maybe. But I found an old One Piece clip that is showing Luffy stepping into the frame, and then it zooms around and shows on his face, and he does this like breath move right before it goes into a battle sequence with him. And I figured that would be fine enough. I would just, when you're looking at a video on YouTube, you can use the period and the comma buttons on your keyboard to, whenever it's paused, move up and back a single frame. So I was just using the period on the keyboard to move up frame by frame, and then every time the frame would change, I'd grab it out and I would put it in here. And when that, let's zoom it in a little bit more, like that. And so I would use the period and I would move it up. And so for like this scene, this frame stayed on screen for like 10 frames of YouTube. So after 10 frames, I'd come in, I'd take another screenshot, move it over, and I just kept doing that all the way up all of the frames that it had, taking into account how many YouTube frames I had to switch for each One Piece frame. And I just kind of mapped it all out, and then once I had it all mapped out, I went back through and lined it out myself so that I could have the solid animation ripped off instead of just using, because I felt like it would be easier to use the raw lines to base off of than a whole picture behind where you're drawing. So I went through and I lined it all out, and at the later portions when he does the breath is kind of like an overlay onto the actual scene itself, so I put those on a separate layer in case I wanted to actually color through them and make it block out portions of the face whenever, if I lined it all out and it looked good and I wanted to go back and color everything. So that's what I did there, and then once I finished all of that, that took me quite a bit of time. I think like 4 hours or something. I went back through and I started from the beginning, and I started sketching in my own version of it over top. So instead of Luffy in the One Piece scene, it was going to be Mori. And in this version, I felt like it was kind of I can't think of the word, but I felt like it would have been good to have a One Piece version of Mori. And she had a collaboration with One Piece back in the day where she made a song for one of the chapters in their manga. And that song came with an outfit for her from the manga. The chapter was called Future Island or Egghead Island or something like that. And so she was wearing a character named Bonnie's Future Island outfit. And so I went back through and I modeled it out as if Mori was wearing that Future Island outfit and stepping into scene like Luffy did. And then the hair portion, I tried to have her hair be there instead of Luffy's cape. but I don't think it came out well at all. I really don't like it. And if I were to go and finish it, I would probably go back and go over top of that with a different style. Probably more, once I got to the face, I found a better way to do hair because I was basing it more off her face rather than just what I felt it should look like. Because when you get to her face, you get to a portion where you can actually base it off of like the actual model, because the model is a live 2D thing. It doesn't have a back. There's nothing that I can look at to be like, this is what the back of her hair should look like when it's waving around, or this is what the back of her leg should look like. I could kind of get a little bit of insight because Bonnie wore the same thing, and she had a figure released for her, so I could kind of get a back sighting from that, but there isn't a whole lot of that on Google Images. So I was still innovating a little bit, and the hair that Bonnie has is way shorter and doesn't flow around like a cape like that, whereas on Maury's model it actually is a bit longer. Maybe not that long, but long enough that it could make sense to replace the cape in the scene. So I came through and I basically scrolled right over top of Luffy. So I pulled out like where his face was, his mouth was, his nose, and where his ear would come out. And then I would go back over and finish the rest of it with my interpretation of Mori in that Future Island look. Basically just looking at her base model, trying to match up the hair based on where the lines of the face and the mouth are. And it's okay. I think it came out okay the first couple frames, but as I start getting more and more into it, you can tell I either got tired or I just wasn't noticing or something, and the eye just keeps going up and to the left and getting more and more deformed. And so by the end of it, it almost looks even worse than it did. And having Luffy's mouth and nose on Mori's face just feels really kind of weird. So I really should go back and redo those if I'm going to complete it and fully animate out that video. But yeah, that's basically what I've worked on the last couple days. Converting from Luffy to Mori in this instance took about 8 hours. It was a long time. And I don't even think it looks good is the worst part about it. But I'll go ahead and put up the Luffy version now.
Step into the scene. No, nobody can do it like me.
And then I will go ahead and put up the Mori version.
Step into the scene. No, nobody can do it like me.
So you can kind of see it is basically a 1-to-1 redirection, but I don't think it looks good. The original is just so much better, whether it's because it's Luffy and I'm trying to base it too much on him, or because my skill as an artist is just too lacking to do something like this. But that's what I was working on and inspired to do and may keep working on in the future. So when I make another video, it may be different animations for that same thing, or it may completely stretch to something else and I just end up dropping this like I usually do. But at least it was videoed and given out there and put up for other people to see, because that's kind of what this channel was about, was trying new things. And even if I don't like them and I give up on them, putting them out for people to see, and taking more time to try and complete it rather than just giving up every time. So even though I might give up on it, I'm not doing it right away. I did attempt to edit out a little bit of it, and I did attempt to animate a little bit of it, when before I probably wouldn't have even done that. I probably would have gotten to the animation portion, realized I have no clue how any of this works, and then just stopped and given up on the whole idea. So I at least worked more than what I usually would have. And it is going to be put out there. So even unfinished, the idea will exist somewhere in the world, and maybe someone will see it and copy the idea from me and actually finish it with better quality. Or maybe they'll become inspired upon it with another idea. I don't know. That's what the channel's for. So, but yeah, I really wish it would have looked a lot better. Because I do like the idea. I do still want to complete it. I don't feel as confident in myself to complete it. But that was the check-in for today. This will be the second one this week, so I won't have another one until maybe Monday or Tuesday next week. But yeah, I will see you all then.